Good morning, Liv. Wendy, engrossed in conversation, greeted Olivia with a wave as Olivia entered their classroom. Are you guys participating in the campus model competition? The girl talking to Wendy asked both Wendy and Olivia once Olivia walked over. I'm not interested. Olivia shrugged, and the other girl shook her head in agreement. Same, it feels weird to, display our photos online, even if it is supposed to be part of art or whatever. Olivia chuckled and remarked, I feel the same way. I heard Pamela's planning to participate. Another girl opposite Wendy mentioned. She's quite beautiful. The first girl agreed. If I were her, I would too. Heck, if I were any of you, I would participate. But I'm self-conscious about my pores. They're so big. At that moment, Pamela reached the classroom door. Hearing the girls compliment her behind her back, her mood lifted instantly. With her classmates showing their support for her, her chances of winning the campus model seemed even more promising. I actually think, Wendy chimed in, her voice filled with coyness, that our Liv is as beautiful as a flower. If she'd participated, she'd easily win the competition. I'd even contribute my lunch money to buy her prints, just to support her. Olivia playfully poked Wendy's head and retorted, I'd rather steal your lunch money and burn it. She laughed. The girl beside Wendy said, To be honest, if Liv joined the competition, I think she'd win hands down. Olivia shook her head, a smile playing on her lips as she addressed her classmate. Enough with the teasing. Why are we discussing me again? I'm not interested in joining any competition. I'm busy with my own plans, she thought, not some silly school charity competition. Fine, then I suppose we'll just have to buy Pamela's photos then. I mean, if we want someone from our grade to represent our school as the campus model, she'll probably need as much help as she can get. Pamela's expression soured. Wendy's words had dampened her mood, and the other girl's remarks had only made her madder. The shift from choosing her willingly to feeling compelled to vote for her seriously wounded her self-esteem. I hate Olivia, she thought. That girl deserves nothing but death. How dare she? Pamela cursed inwardly, seething with anger. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of the skilled photographer she had already agreed to work with for this competition. Once her photos were released, not only would she secure the title of campus model, but she would also apply to join the student union. Every student would witness her significant influence in the school, and soon she would be better known and liked than Olivia. Even if Olivia refused to relinquish her role as class president, it wouldn't matter. Pamela would dominate their school's social scene one way or another. Lost in her own fantasy, Pamela's expression gradually brightened. Move aside, Jeremy said, annoyed by Pamela's lingering presence at the classroom door. Oh, sorry. Pamela snapped out of her daze and stepped aside. Realizing that she still would have to rely on her classmates, as well as the general public, to purchase her photos, she offered Jeremy a sweet smile. Jeremy didn't spare her a second glance, and instead walked to his seat. Pamela felt a twinge of awkwardness and glanced around, relieved that no one seemed to notice. She coughed lightly, pretending to fix her hair, attempting to alleviate her embarrassment. Deep down, she continued to curse Jeremy. Such a malicious person was utterly repulsive. Didn't he know how to properly greet people? His poor ass is utterly useless, she thought. How dare he ignore me? He was no different from Olivia. They could both go to hell together. Her eyes narrowed, thinking of how one day she would ignore him once she was more popular, and how small and stupid he would feel then. Her thoughts helped soothe her mind, and she let out a long breath, raising her head again. Why should I bother with such lowly trash anyway? At that moment, Francis entered the classroom, his backpack slung over his shoulder casually, like he had not a care in the world. Pamela's eyes lit up. With Francis' affluent background, maybe I could persuade him to buy several hundred copies of my photo. If he knows it's for a good cause, it should be a breeze, right? Francis would surely purchase numerous photos to assimilate into the class and be part of something now that he was getting along with everyone, wouldn't he? Filled with this hope, Pamela mustered another smile. Good morning, Frances. Sup? Frances replied nonchalantly as he brushed past her without even glancing at her. Pamela didn't let Frances's cold demeanor affect her. He's probably just busy, she told herself. He probably didn't even realize it was me. Or he's worried about his work or something. I'm sure it's fine. She hurried to catch up with him. Are you participating in the campus model competition? Pamela spoke softly, intentionally engaging in conversation. The more she knew him, the more handsome she found him. Even though he was short, his acne was improving and his involvement in the competition might pose a potential threat to her aspirations. She felt a tinge of concern. If Frances did join, would he only purchase his own photos? Nah, not interested, Frances replied, his attention solely fixated on the world of video gaming. Relieved by Frances's disinterest, Pamela continued, Well, I know it's a charity event, but I think there's sort of like an unspoken competition going on between the grades, where every class competes to be the one that has the campus model who represents the school at the climate gala. So when the time comes, you should consider buying more copies of all the juniors' photos, so we can beat all the senior models and represent the school. She raised her hand, delicately tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. To avoid appearing too self-interested, she added, After all, our class has quite a number of students, you know? Pamela had already investigated, and after personally asking everyone, discovered that she was the sole representative from their class. Frances responded with a nonchalant, If it involved the class's honor, he would undoubtedly show his support. Since yesterday afternoon, he had begun to embrace his role as a member of the junior class, thanks to Liv, who had shown him how to beat level 3 of Fall of the Sun. Watching his thoughts, Olivia smiled. It was weird how obsessive Frances was about video games. He literally decided how he felt about his classmates based on how well he was doing in the game. But I suppose that's what an addiction does to a person. She could see by reading his mind that Frances spent all his waking hours away from school playing VR games. So when he got stuck at level 3 of his latest obsession, he felt stuck in his life. That's why he considered Olivia's help so vital. Not just to his gaming, but to his survival. He's so odd, Olivia thought. But I can work with odds, as long as it helps me achieve my goals. Olivia went back to her conversation with Wendy, and unbeknownst to her, a few moments later, Frances raised his head and spotted Olivia a few feet away, engrossed in her cheerful chat with her classmates. The morning sun cast its golden rays upon Olivia, Frances thought, accentuating her profile and rendering her indescribably beautiful. Frances, Pamela began, hoping to engage Frances in conversation more. She had her own plans, knowing that Frances had recently transferred to Marshall High School. At this unfamiliar stage, if she showed kindness and engaged him in conversation, she would hopefully be able to manipulate him for her own goals. She hoped her voice and smile would leave a lasting impression on Frances. Excuse me, Frances interjected abruptly, snapping Pamela from her daydream. He gestured to his desk and kept walking, signaling his disinterest in speaking with her further. Okay, Pamela responded without getting upset. She attributed Frances' behavior to his reserved disposition, reminding herself that they were still acquaintances. Given enough time, Frances would undoubtedly succumb to her charm. She mustered her most satisfactory smile once again and gracefully stepped aside. Frances left Pamela behind and made his way towards Olivia instead of returning to his seat. Observing Frances's change in direction, Pamela's eyebrows shot up. She was taken aback. Good morning, Frances greeted Olivia warmly. Olivia was momentarily surprised but met Frances's gaze. Good morning to you too, she responded. She hadn't anticipated him actually being so kind to her so suddenly. In her last life, he was rather aloof and rude towards her. How's it going? Did you end up beating your whole VR game after I showed you how to beat level 3 yesterday? Olivia inquired. I beat quite a lot. Frances nodded. Still have yet to conquer it all, but it's all thanks to you as far as I am. Already at level 8, he said proudly. Jeez, Olivia thought. Imagine if your whole life revolved around a game. How sad. There's another challenge waiting in the 9th level, Olivia mused, rubbing her chin. For now, play on your own, but if you find it too difficult, come and seek my guidance. You can be my prodigy, and I'll be your master, young grasshopper, she joked. She couldn't help but prod him a little bit, given their strained relationship in her past life. I ought to help my disciple somehow, shouldn't I? She winked. Understood, Francis agreed, his eyes filled with admiration for Olivia. Since successfully navigating the 3rd level the previous day, he had developed deep respect for her. This is good, she thought. The more Francis feels beholden to me, the less chance Pamela has of ever using him or getting close to him in this life. Uh-oh, Liv, Wendy chimed in, teasing. If you keep showing Francis how to beat levels, and all the other VR gamers in class will start saying you have a crush. Olivia smirked. Well, Francis is better looking than them, so what if I do favor him? Francis found himself at a loss for words. While he felt a slight thrill upon hearing Olivia acknowledge his attractiveness, the scrutinizing gaze of her friends made him apprehensive. He looked at Olivia, seeking guidance amidst the awkwardness. Witnessing Francis's embarrassment, Olivia felt a sense of gratification. All her past grievances were gradually dissipating, and if Francis thought she favored him over everyone else, maybe it wasn't the worst thing in the world. It would definitely keep him from focusing on Pamela. With a smile, Olivia stated, In any case, I don't feel like showing anyone else how to beat any VR games anytime soon. If Francis wants to show the others what I show him, that's up to him. He and I have our own thing, Olivia said, her smile taking on a deeper meaning. She strolled back to her seat, leaving her words hanging in the air. As Olivia walked away, a chorus of boys started talking to Francis. Hey dude, if you teach me to beat level 3 in Fall of the Sun, I'll treat you to lunch today, one offered. Hell, I'll buy your lunch all week, another said. Shit, I'll let you copy my homework if you tell me how to beat it. Francis smiled, and so too did Olivia. She knew that her actions had made Francis popular. Now all the guys in school were attempting to win his favor, and he was experiencing a level of positive attention he hadn't received at any of his former schools. He'll be forever indebted to me, Olivia knew, and he will always thank me for giving him this power and access. She eyed Pamela, who was still pouting. Poor idiot. He'll never stand a chance, Olivia smirked. Surrounded by a crowd, Francis found himself overwhelmed by the sudden enthusiasm of his classmates. At a loss for words, he stood there unsure of how to respond. Fortunately, the class bell rang just in time, saving Francis from his bewildered state. Their teacher, Adam's arrival provided a much-needed escape for him. Adam glanced at everyone and said casually, What are you all doing? Didn't you hear the bell? Take your seats. Following Adam's instructions, the students dispersed and returned to their respective seats. Pamela, who had been standing in a daze near the floor, was the last to sit down. Her mind was reeling from the morning's events. How could things have turned out like this? Why did Francis basically bow down before Olivia? And when did he become so familiar with all our classmates? They're all treating him like he's a king, and I was going to be the one to make him feel special and important. If everyone else does already, before I have a chance to, then how can I possibly win him over? Confused and disheartened, Pamela clenched her fists. This was not part of her plan. She had intended to be the only person Francis knew and to maintain a close relationship with him. She had wanted to manipulate him and keep him under her control. But now, all her efforts seemed to be in vain. Caught up in her thoughts, Pamela didn't pay attention to what her teacher was saying. As soon as class ended, she turned and immediately approached Sally Ellsbury, who was seated behind her. Breathless and filled with anxiety, Pamela asked Sally why Francis was suddenly so close to Olivia, and why all the guys in class wanted to talk to him. Sally informed Pamela about Francis's public admission of defeat the previous afternoon. He told us he couldn't beat some stupid game, and then, Olivia could or something, so then she told him how, and then I guess some of the other guys want to know how? Sally waved her hand. I don't really know. I was low-key watching TikTok on my phone, but I think that's what they were all talking about.
Pamela's face turned pale as she listened. She had been absent for only one afternoon, yet everything had changed so drastically. All her hard work seemed to be going down the drain. She refused to accept this outcome. "It's all kind of random," Sally shrugged. "I never knew Olivia was so knowledgeable about VR games that, haven't come out yet, but she's, really smart and basically, super well-rounded, so I guess it makes sense. I feel like she reads New Yorker articles and stuff, or something probably." Upon hearing Sally's admiration for Olivia, a glimmer of resentment flickered in Pamela's eyes. She considered Olivia despicable for taking advantage of her absence to execute such devious little schemes. "When I become the campus model," Pamela resolved, "I'm going to reclaim my position in this school. And then I'm going to become class president next year and win back Francis. And I'll snatch Chris Jones away from Olivia, too. Such exceptional men are undeserving of Olivia's company anyway. She's a poor bastard who should be paired with someone like Jeremy, whose disposition matched hers." Pamela cursed Olivia while Francis was surrounded by his classmates, unable to escape. It was only after he agreed to go to one of their houses to play VR games later that the boys finally smiled and let him be. Letting out a long breath, Francis finally felt a sense of relief. "How are you feeling?" Olivia asked, approaching his desk when she saw how exhausted he looked. She wore a kind smile. "Overwhelmed?" he thought, but instead he said, "Good." He liked having Olivia's help and didn't want to say anything that might jeopardize that. "Good," she nodded. "I'm glad." With that, she left the classroom. Things are coming together, she thought. There may have been setbacks, but so far, so good. Before school the following day, Olivia took Polly out to the city early in the morning and walked her in the park near school. The plan was to leave Polly with Victoria while Olivia was at school later, which they did occasionally when Victoria worked remotely. Her dog's adorable antics attracted attention wherever they went and made Olivia laugh. At the park, they played fetch, and Olivia enjoyed looking at the golden and orange fall leaves that created a slightly melancholic yet beautiful ambiance. The gentle morning sunlight filtered through the gaps in the foliage, casting a dreamlike halo around the tree's silhouette. Polly, in high spirits, couldn't contain her excitement at the sight of mounds of fallen leaves. As they strolled through the park, Polly would dart through the leaf piles, tail wagging, and Olivia would keel over laughing at her dog. Eventually, they came across a couple taking wedding photos. The bride and groom's face beamed with happiness as they posed, fingers interlocked. In her previous life, Olivia had yearned for the opportunity to capture such beautiful wedding pictures with the man she loved, but her thoughts turned gloomy as memories resurfaced. That man had treated her as a mere pawn in his revenge, never considering marriage or preserving her reputation. Even after she had undergone plastic surgery for him, getting nips and tucks in her thighs and nose and cheekbones because she only wanted to please him, he callously discarded her. Polly barked out, sensing Olivia's shift in mood and trying to grab her owner's attention. "Hmm?" Olivia snapped out of her solemn reverie and looked at Polly. She smiled, squatting down and placing her hands on the dog's jaw, pressing her forehead against Polly's. "Don't worry, I'm fine." Polly nuzzled Olivia's cheek, offering comfort and reassurance. "That tickles," Olivia laughed, playfully grabbing Polly's neck and head. Polly reciprocated by licking Olivia's hand. The duo enjoyed a blissful time playing together under the tree, surrounded by swirling fallen leaves. Passerbys couldn't help but glance their way, captivated by the enchanting scene unfolding before them. One observer, unable to resist the beauty of the moment, picked up his camera and captured the scene, intending to immortalize it. With the click of the camera, Olivia and Polly's attention was drawn to the young man in his early 20s who held the camera towards them. Though not well-versed in photography, Olivia could tell that the camera was of high quality. "Sorry," the man apologized, offering a bashful smile. "It's a professional habit. The moment was just too beautiful." "It's all right," Olivia replied, shaking her head. She assumed he was another wedding photographer capturing the newlyweds' moments. "May I keep this picture?" the man asked softly, looking at Olivia. He didn't want to delete such a beautiful moment, despite knowing it was impolite to ask. Sure, Olivia consented. Rarely had anyone captured her in such a carefree moment with one of the true loves of her life. In her previous life, she had few people or pets she loved around, and she had few carefree moments to begin with, because Rachel and Monica bullied her so relentlessly. I was so much weaker then, she thought. When she did have her picture taken back then, reporters had managed to photograph her at her worst and most embarrassing moments. Thinking of this, she said almost reflexively, "Just please don't share the photograph with others." She wished to avoid unnecessary complications in this life and unnecessary jabs from others. The man quickly agreed, promising to keep the picture to himself. He understood the need for professional ethics, even in such a captivating natural moment of beauty. "What's your email? I'll send you a copy once I upload it later." Olivia hesitated for a moment, waving her hand dismissively. She harbored reservations about sharing her email with a stranger, even if it was her school email address, which was monitored closely for student safety. "Oh, there's no need," she gently declined. She didn't want him to know who she was. Right now, she was merely an anonymous young woman in a park with a dog, and the photo was taken from far away enough that it didn't matter. "You may keep the picture." With that, she led Polly further into the depths of the park. As the man's gaze followed Olivia's retreating figure, a smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. He then turned his attention to the photos he had just taken. The composition and ambiance were exquisite, exuding a captivating beauty. The more he examined them, the more enamored he became. Regret began to seep into his thoughts, regret for not having secured a means of contacting her. He could have her sign a waiver and enlarge this photo, perhaps even exhibiting in his upcoming gallery exhibition later this month. While engrossed in his ruminations, a melodious voice interrupted his train of thought. "Hello? Are you Danny Wilson?" Danny shifted his gaze away from the camera, focusing on the approaching girl. "I am. Are you Pamela?" "Yes, indeed," the girl affirmed, the sweetest smile gracing her features. She stood before him, fully aware of Danny's status as one of the art world's most celebrated up-and-coming photographers. This is exactly why she'd chosen him to meet her this morning before school and take her picture for the One World Climate Initiative auction. Noticing that Pamela's smile failed to reach her eyes, Danny nodded and reciprocated with a faint, flat smile of his own. Maybe she's not so sincere after all, he thought. "Shall we begin?" "Sure," Pamela responded, masking her displeasure at Danny's apparent indifference towards her. She reasoned it was likely the artistic temperament at play. Smiling once more, she said, "I'm excited to be your muse for your Raphael angel painting," she said. "It's not every day I get to be an angel." Danny nodded and began to manipulate the camera in his hands. "I'm excited to be able to do this for such a charitable cause," he said. In reality, he knew how many important people were going to be at the charity auction. Such people had deep pockets, and Danny would be able to network and let them know about his gallery exhibition the following week. It was essentially free advertising for a cause. "Stand over there," he directed Pamela, pointing towards a group of oak trees. Pamela obediently followed Danny's instructions, trying out various poses and movements as he captivated his shots. Gradually, she felt her smile becoming forced and rigid as the initial joy she had brought to the photo shoot began to wane. Doubts crept in, and she questioned whether the exorbitant sum she planned to pay Danny to take extra photos to ensure she got a winning shot was truly worthwhile. Danny stopped for a moment and examined some of the photos, his dissatisfaction apparent. Pamela possessed undeniable physical beauty, but her smile looked strained and fake. He hated when things looked too posed. He vowed he would never be a photographer who took posed photos. That was what silly catalog photographers did, not high art photographers. He only accepted natural, unposed photos with models who looked as though they were lit from within, radiant, effortless. Reflecting on the earlier photo he had taken of that girl and her dog, Danny grew weary of witnessing the fake smile on Pamela's face. Raising his gaze, he declared, "You'd be better off not smiling." Pamela stood there, stunned by his words. What did he mean by that? While famed photographer Danny Wilson was taking Pamela's photos on the other side of the park, Olivia concluded her delightful time with Polly and proceeded to head over to her mother's house. Victoria was elated to see Polly, showering the puppy with praise and affection upon her arrival. Polly no longer resembled the malnourished stray it had been when Olivia first encountered her. The husky's physique had filled out, her fur grew soft and lustrous, and even her eyes radiated newfound vibrancy. Anyone who laid eyes on Polly could discern the loving care she received from her owner. She's such a good girl, Victoria smiled as she played with her daughter's dog. And so well-trained, too. But then, of course she is. You are a good mother to her, aren't you? I always knew you would be so good at raising a little puppy. I've always dreamed of this for you. There was happiness in Victoria's eyes, but also a wistfulness. Don't worry, Mom, Olivia thought. One day you and Polly and me and Dad will be back together under one roof, all living together happily. I try, Olivia beamed. It felt so good to be this loved in life. Everything felt like it was just so much better than her past life. If only I didn't have such sinister, calculated people who always seemed to be after me, she thought, like Rachel and Monica and Pamela. If it weren't for them, I'd be able to relax and just enjoy this all the time. She looked at her mom and thought, it's okay. I will hurt my enemies before they can hurt us. To protect this, to protect everything that's good in this world. Victoria extended her hand, gently patting Polly's body. And this little cutie has certainly gained some weight, too. Victoria broke into a laugh, unable to help herself. Chuckling, Olivia replied, yeah, she's quite the glutton. She has an affinity for treats and leftovers, so what can I say? I like to indulge her. Gluttony isn't necessarily a bad trait, Olivia's mother remarked, but be mindful not to indulge too excessively, as it may cause digestive issues. I want your little puppy to be as healthy and happy as she can be. Okay, Olivia nodded. Over the next few days, Olivia continued to bring her dog to her mother's in the mornings so Polly and Victoria could bond. Then, on Saturday, Olivia decided to bring Polly to the park simply to play catch. Olivia tried concentrating on the sticks she threw, carrying them much farther with her mind than she could ordinarily throw. And when Polly would run around in circles and fetch her stick, Olivia would focus on random passerbys, zeroing in on little details, and using her powers to try and accomplish the most minute of tasks. For instance, she zeroed in on a woman walking in a group of friends, and used her mind to move the woman's glasses further up on the bridge of her nose. Then, Olivia used her mind to take the hair tie out of a passing jogger's hair. Another time, Olivia used her mind to untie the sweatshirt that was tied around a young man's waist as he hiked through the park with his girlfriend. Olivia was careful not to harm these strangers. That wasn't the point of this exercise. Instead, she merely wanted to sharpen her skills by focusing on very tiny tasks with a surgeon's precision. She smiled after successfully completing these little tasks she'd given herself. She had been so successful, in fact, that she hadn't even harmed or touched any of the bystanders around her chosen targets. Good, Olivia thought. This means I'm one step closer to never repeating what happened on the track again. She barely let herself think back to that day. No, she stopped herself before she went down memory lane. There was only going forward, and in the future, I will be more careful and more practiced, and it will only make me more powerful. But I have a job to do, and any job worth doing takes practice. When she looked down, Olivia laughed. Polly was panting and wagging her tail, proud of the tennis ball she had found in the bramble of the park. Where did you find this? Olivia smiled. Polly jumped up in the air, so Olivia tossed her the ball, and Polly happily caught it before laying down on the ground. Come on, cutie, Olivia said. You must be tired. Let's go get you some water. With Polly on the leash beside her, Olivia headed out of the park. As soon as Olivia stepped back out onto the street, her phone rang. She fished it from her pocket, wondering who it could be. Observing the caller's name on her screen, Olivia narrowed her eyes slightly. "You are certainly persistent, aren't you?" she thought. Answering the phone, Olivia's tone turned curt. "Chris, I must say your persistence is truly impressive. You keep trying to have dinner, then lunch with me. You're going to great lengths for a mere meal." The corner of Chris's mouth twitched. Who did this girl think she was, talking to him like this? He had to admit he kind of liked it. Nobody ever talked back to him. They were too afraid to offend him because of his status and power. Not Olivia, though, he thought. She was born completely different from everyone else. Besides, he simply missed her a little and desired to see her. Asking her to lunch served as a mere excuse. He knew Olivia was taking her dog to the park today because she'd posted a video of Polly running for a stick earlier. So he had left his family's penthouse and had been waiting around the park for quite some time. To have the woman he had been longing for day and night right in front of him, only to receive such a response, left Chris feeling slightly hurt. "Hello?" Olivia shook her head, observing Chris's lack of response. "Earth to Chris? You know, it's not normal to call someone and then just not say anything. We all lead busy lives. You can't expect us to all bend over backwards and be there at your beck and call all the time, can you?" "Well," Chris murmured, hesitating, "I just thought, since I'm in the neighborhood and you're in the neighborhood, maybe I could treat you to a meal." "Oh? You're in the neighborhood? Where?" Olivia shot back, devoid of any hesitation. Chris raised an eyebrow. Wasn't this the same girl who claimed she wouldn't be at his beck and call? Choosing not to respond, he silently approached Olivia from behind. "Hello?" Olivia found Chris' continued silence perplexing. "Chris!" "I'm right behind you." Chris finally spoke, his voice gentle and soft. She could hear him thinking the words as he spoke them aloud. He was very close. Olivia swiftly turned around, ending the call with a satisfied smile. "Chris, you just can't break the habit of tailing people, can you? Why is it that I always seem to find you following me?" "Why should I stop now?" Chris put his phone down and into his pocket. "I find it quite enjoyable. And last I checked, me tailing you once saved your life." Olivia was momentarily at a loss for words. Perhaps the mindset of wealthy young guys who could get away with anything was different than hers. He was so confident. "Touché." She looked around. "So, what kind of meal would you like to treat me to? I'm feeling rather hungry." Shaking his head helplessly, Chris replied, "Whatever you want, I will have too." "So you want me to decide?" Olivia pondered for a moment. "I'm craving pizza." "Never a bad choice," Chris nodded. "Let's go then." "All right." Olivia's smile widened as she said, "There's a pizza place nearby with an exceptional secret sauce tomato base with 6 different types of cheeses. It's absolutely delicious." "Okay." Seeing Olivia's joy, Chris also smiled. He was beginning to really like being around her. Hearing his thoughts, Olivia had to work hard not to blush. She couldn't let him know she was reading his mind. Upon entering the pizza joint, Olivia and Chris both noticed that it was quite crowded for this time of day. A server led them to a table for 2. Olivia picked up the menu and asked, "Chris, what do you fancy?" "You can order. I'll eat whatever you choose." Chris observed Olivia's focused expression as she perused the menu, and a faint smile appeared on his lips. "Ew!" A woman at the table beside them suddenly shouted. "Oh my God, ew, there's a dog in here." Olivia spun around in her chair to look at the woman seated behind her. She was dressed in a Dior jumpsuit and had pearl earrings and a matching pearl necklace. The woman looked to be about 50 years old, and Olivia could tell she was not the normal clientele for a restaurant like this. But she had been forced to accompany her daughter and grandchildren here for her 3rd birthday party. "Get that beast out of here," the woman said. "What if he tries to bite the children? Or worse, my purse? You can't have a dog around so many children with food around." The woman started throwing such a fit. Olivia looked around embarrassed. Suddenly, everyone was staring at her. "Oh, gosh," the server suddenly leaned into Olivia. "I'm sorry, but we don't allow pets in the dining room." Sorry I didn't notice you had a husky with you until just now. And if it were up to me, I totally would let it slide, but my boss will kill me if I let you stay and this lady causes a stink." The 50-something-year-old woman was pretending to be allergic to the dog, though Olivia could tell from reading the woman's thoughts that she was faking it. In reality, the woman was just concerned the dog would shed its hair on her or salivate on her expensive Hermes bag. "That dog is disgusting," the woman thought. "Just like its little whore owner who thinks she can just bring a stupid animal in here and risk me ruining my stuff. Kids these days are moronic little twits, aren't they? Do they know how much I paid for my outfit?" Olivia narrowed her eyes. "You don't call my dog disgusting," Olivia thought. "You have no idea what Polly has been through, what she's overcome. And you don't call me a little whore. That's not how you treat others who just want to have a good time and enjoy their lives." Olivia smirked, watching the woman. She would have to teach her a lesson. Before Olivia could focus all her attention on the histrionic woman who was in hysterics behind her, she had to contend with the immediate issue at hand. Olivia turned back towards her server, who was clearing his throat because he was unsure how to handle the situation. The woman in the pearl necklace was making quite the scene, and it was turning into a dramatic fiasco. "I'm so sorry." Olivia smiled politely at the server. "We didn't realize your policy when we came in. But what if my dog is extremely well behaved? It won't disturb the other patrons while they eat." It's the restaurant's policy. I apologize." The server offered an apologetic smile. "What if we talk to the manager on duty?" Chris asked, stepping in. His confidence really was on full display, Olivia thought. "Of course." The employee nodded deferentially and then called for the manager on duty. "Hello, I'm Craig," a plump man wearing a polo shirt and cargo shorts said. "I'm the manager on duty. How may I assist you?" The manager's attitude was pleasant enough. "Well, the staff mentioned that pets aren't allowed in your establishment," Olivia explained, trying to sound very adult. "But my dog is extremely well behaved. She won't cause any disturbances or wander around." Olivia did her best to showcase Polly's obedience. At that moment, Polly was lying harmlessly next to Olivia's feet, gazing up with pleading eyes at the manager. The manager on duty found himself in a dilemma. "I'm truly sorry, but it's against our policy." Olivia let out a sigh. She was genuinely looking forward to trying the pizza at this restaurant. "In that case, we'll order and take it to go." Chris tapped his finger on the table. "Order whatever you like, and we'll pack it up and eat elsewhere." "Sounds good." Olivia looked at the manager again. "Can we sit and wait for the food?" "Yes." The manager nodded, arranging for the staff to take Olivia's order. "Outside." "Do you enjoy spicy food?" Olivia asked Chris. "I'll try anything," Chris replied nonchalantly before winking. "I'm adventurous." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "In that case, I'll order a Calabrian chili and honey pie," Olivia said, "and the secret sauce pie." Olivia smacked her lips and added, "And add a side of the fresh squash blossoms and meatballs." "That should do it." "All right," the manager confirmed the order. "Please wait a moment." Yes. Olivia nodded eagerly. "You certainly have an appetite for lunch," Chris remarked with a smile. "Do you think you can finish it all?" "Don't underestimate me," Olivia replied confidently. "Oh, I never do." He winked at her again. Olivia averted her eyes. Even if she liked the attention from Chris, even if she found herself craving it whenever she was around him lately, she also had a hard time accepting it too. It was hard to understand and harder to explain. Besides, even if I can't finish it all, I have you to help me. One of the perks of having you trail me is I can just make you finish my food too." She smiled playfully. "But where are we going to eat all this once it's ready?" Chris's gaze darkened. "My place?" Olivia was taken aback. What was this? When a man invites a woman over, isn't that sort of presumptuous? Were they really going to haul their entire meal and her dog to Chris's penthouse? I can't think of any other suitable place, Chris explained, looking at Olivia, who appeared somewhat resistant. He shrugged helplessly. Where else can we go? In that case, why don't you call Dean or Sven or one of your other drivers? Olivia suggested, not entirely comfortable being alone with Chris like that quite yet. She didn't fully know where things stood between them. Okay, Chris agreed. Once their food was ready, Craig the manager brought out their pizzas and to-go bags, and Chris and Olivia nodded and thanked him. Chris headed outside first, carrying the pizza boxes and takeaway in his arms. Polly followed him. Olivia, however, stopped just before walking out the door. She looked back over her shoulder and eyed the woman who had made a big deal about Polly. The woman was already laughing and smiling and telling stories again. The whole dramatic, hysterical act was obviously just that, an act. Olivia rolled her eyes, then focused closely on the woman's arms. The 50-something woman was cutting a piece of chicken parmesan with a knife and fork. Practice what you just learned, Olivia told herself, concentrating on the woman's right hand which held the knife. She blocked out all the people and objects around the woman, and when the time was right, Olivia nodded her head slightly to the left, almost imperceptibly. At that moment, the woman's right hand suddenly flicked forward, and she sliced into her fingers with the sharp blade. It took her a second to register what had happened, but as soon as she did, the woman began screaming. She reflexively lifted her hand up, revealing that she had nearly sliced the top of her left pointer finger clean off. It dangled from her hand, severed nearly to the bone as she shouted for help. Blood poured everywhere, on her pearl necklace, on her designer jumpsuit, even on that poor, precious, very expensive bag of hers that she was so worried about keeping clean. Poor thing, Olivia thought. She really ought to watch how she cuts her food. The woman screamed helplessly as servers and her family ran around her, trying to stop the bleeding on her hand. She couldn't believe what had happened. How had that happened? It was all occurring so fast, and she was beginning to feel faint from so much blood loss. Moments before she lost consciousness, the woman looked up. There, across the restaurant, she locked eyes with Olivia. And unlike everyone else in the restaurant who watched the woman with concern, Olivia just stared back at her, eyes icy cold, and grinned. What are you so happy about? Chris asked once Olivia was sitting in the back seat of Sven's car behind him. Pardon? She asked. You're grinning ear to ear. Something happened that I'm unaware of? Or you're just excited to actually come back to my place and see how your better half lives? She rolled her eyes but maintained her smile. You love yourself, don't you? What's not to love? He joked. No, I'm just in a good mood. I like pizza. She nodded to the front passenger seat, where the Italian takeout sat. The smell of marinara sauce and meatballs wafted through the entire car, making her ravenous. And I like my dog, she added, petting Polly, who sat between Olivia and Chris. And occasionally, when you don't irritate me or call me begging to have meals with you too much, she teased, I even like your company. So yeah, I guess it's all contributed to this good mood. He raised an eyebrow. Gee, glad we could all be of service then. Sven drove everyone zipping through traffic until they arrived at Chris's penthouse and he dropped Chris and Olivia off in Chris's secure underground parking lot. Thanks, Sven, Chris said, as he led Olivia and her puppy to his elevator. Soon they were being whisked up to Chris's penthouse apartment. As soon as they stepped out of the elevator, Olivia looked around in awe. The first thing she noticed was the interior decor. It was a neat and tidy sprawling apartment with a touch of European style. Even though she knew the apartment occupied the top few floors of the building, this particular wing somehow still felt incredibly cozy. As Chris began plating all the takeout food, he noticed Olivia shivering. Oh, I'll turn the thermostat up. Meantime, here. He went to the hall closet and retrieved a sweater that he then brought to Olivia. This cardigan belongs to Vera, but you can wear it. Since there was usually no guest at his home, he hadn't really prepared anything. Hasn't Vera returned yet? Olivia inquired. She recalled that Vera had traveled out of town for a wedding. No, Chris responded. There's a situation in Europe, and she won't be back until Thanksgiving or after." "I see," Olivia nodded. She tried to read Chris's mind to see what more she could glean about this mysterious situation he mentioned, but he quickly changed the subject. "Enough with the chit-chat. I'm starving." He pivoted, smacking his lips as he caught a whiff of the fragrant pork and veal meatballs. He suddenly felt truly famished. Chris motioned for Olivia to head to the living room and told one of his butlers, who Olivia hadn't even noticed standing in the corner, to come help bring their plates of food from the kitchen. Olivia sat on the sofa in the living room, accompanied by her husky, patiently waiting. In this unfamiliar environment, Olivia still maintained some reserve, but Chris was a different story. He sprawled on the lengthy sofa, grumbling, "Ugh, it smells so good, I feel like I'm going to starve to death if I don't dig in soon." Olivia agreed and laughed. She was so focused on eating and on keeping Curious Polly away from her plate that she didn't even think to jump back into Chris's mind and read his thoughts. Instead, he put on the TV and she got lost in a teen drama while they ate. Had she not been so concentrated on the show before them, however, Olivia would have seen that Chris's thoughts were once again on the situation in Europe. Chris had asked his men to gather information on Duke Lee before. Duke was the head of a gang in Europe. Having worked until dawn reading up on everything he could find on Duke Lee, Chris had fallen asleep before finishing. He was merely too exhausted to go on. Now, though, he mulled over everything he had read over. "When I'm done eating, and I have more energy later, I will finish finding out more," he thought. Beside him, Olivia savored her meal and occasionally fed a piece of meat to Polly. Chris, on the other hand, took on the responsibility of serving each slice from the box directly onto Olivia's plate. "Chris, I never thought I would have the chance to be served by you in this lifetime," Olivia teased. "Well, maybe there's a lot I'm capable that you're unaware of just yet," he smirked. "Is he flirting with me?" she wondered. "Oh? Like what?" she asked him directly. "You'll just have to wait and see," he shrugged. "You said we have 5 years together. All in due time, I suppose." "All right," Olivia said as she picked up a piece of cheesecake, which the restaurant manager had apparently included as a free treat to thank them for ordering so much, even after they were kicked out of the restaurant. "Oh, by the way," Chris suddenly remembered and asked, "are you participating in the silly climate initiative photo model competition thingy or whatever they call it?" Olivia was taken back. Why was everyone asking her this question lately? "I'm not participating. I'm not interested. Why?" "I see," Chris responded with a tinge of disappointment. If Olivia had participated, he would have bought a few copies of her photo. "What a pity." "Just thought you'd make a good model," he said. She felt herself smiling in spite of herself. "God, you're cheesy," she thought. "You like him, and he likes you. But if you keep focusing too hard on him, you're going to lose sight of what your real goals are. Eyes on the prize, Liz, eyes on the prize. Don't let this shiny, new, very attractive object derail you now." She inhaled deeply, trying not to look at Chris's attractive smile or eyes looking back at her. The next afternoon, in a room within Manhattan's Upper West Side, a man printed out a set of photos on his professional printer. He examined the printed photos and focused in on one in particular. Wow, he thought. He was captivated by it. Someone gently rapped on his door over and over. When the man didn't answer, a girl opened the door and peeked her head in. "Hey, aren't you coming downstairs to eat? Mom told you already," the girl's voice called out impatiently. "I'm looking at the photos," the man replied, diverting his gaze away from the photo. "I'm not hungry. You guys go ahead and eat." "How can you not eat?" The girl barged into the room and approached her brother. She looked at the photo on the table before him. It was of a young woman and had been photoshopped to make it look more like a painting. "Hey, isn't this my classmate?" "Her?" The man glanced at the photo again and tilted his head. "Yes, her name is Pamela. She's my classmate. Did she take this photo with you for that climate gala auction?" The girl was Callie Wilson, Danny Wilson's younger sister. She adjusted her glasses and said, The photo is truly beautiful. She looks like an ethereal angel captured by your camera. Callie was very pleased by her brother's photography skills and hoped that she too could one day follow in his footsteps. He had been so successful he hadn't even needed to go to college. But why isn't she smiling? I see no laughter or joy behind the eyes in any of the photos. Danny had taught Callie how to spot real and fake smiles in the photographs. He was a real stickler about it. "Her smile is unsightly," Danny replied, a hint of unhappiness in his tone. Capturing such a smile was an insult to his profession and his camera. With that, he focused his attention on the photo in his hand. He preferred to capture images like this. "What is that?" Callie noticed her brother's fixation on the photo in his hand and leaned forward to have a look. It was a photo of Olivia smiling, but she had been photoshopped and transformed so that she was almost angelic, standing in a forest surrounded by fairies and twinkling lights. Callie recognized that her brother was recreating a very old, famous painting by one of the old masters like Da Vinci or Rembrandt of a princess or angel greeting garden nymphs in the forest. Olivia's natural, joyful smile lit up the entire work of art, though. "Whoa, did Olivia Johnson also ask you to take her photo? I thought she wasn't interested in participating in the charity auction's photo recreations." "Who did you say this was?" Danny looked at Callie. "Olivia Johnson, she's our class president," Callie explained. "I wanted to ask you to take her photo before, but she declined, saying she wasn't interested." "Olivia," Danny muttered and explained. "I secretly took this picture of her, and she looked so ethereal and effortless. I figured why not try to see if I could Photoshop her into one of those master's paintings. I mean, it looks like she belongs in the work of art, right? It's like she fits in seamlessly. Anyway, I just wanted to see how it looked, but she didn't know about it." "What a coincidence." Callie tilted her head and observed the photo. "Wow, you're right. She's truly beautiful. Especially under your lens, she looks extraordinary." Callie's eyes lit up suddenly. "Listen, why don't you give me this photo?" "Why? What are you planning?" Danny looked at Callie, his eyes narrowing. "I'm entering it in a competition. It's for the collective good of our class. It'd be great to beat the seniors in the auction, and besides, it's for charity. Olivia won't say no once she sees how good it looks." Callie raised her eyebrows. "With this photo, the junior class would clearly get the most downloads for their fine art photographs, and they would walk proud in the school. All the grades had sort of rivalries, and it would be fun for Callie to see the smug seniors knock down a peg for once." "Nah, I didn't get her permission, so don't bother." Danny dismissively waved his hand. "I promised her I wouldn't show it to anyone else either. Don't get any ideas." "Why would she say not to show it to anyone else? I'm not being sketchy here. I'm doing a public service. It's literally for charity. Danny, hello?" Callie argued. "Besides, printing it is so convenient now. You already made the image and it's flawless. So making more prints or uploading it to the auction site is just a matter of pressing a button. It's not like in the past when you needed a dark room and chemicals and tons of special film paper to develop photos over and over." "I said no." Danny frowned, refusing her request. He had already promised Olivia. "You're so lame." Callie rolled her eyes. "Fine." With that, she turned and walked away quickly, determined to print the photo herself and not tell Olivia. She would simply take it without permission. The collective honor of her entire class was at stake. Watching his sister's retreating figure, Danny shook his head helplessly. He placed the photo he was holding back on the table. If possible, maybe he would ask Olivia's permission to at least show it at his private art exhibition. But he wouldn't trouble asking her about her school's charity auction. She clearly didn't want to participate in that, so he would respect her wishes. On Sunday afternoon, Pamela received 3 photos from Danny. Each image captured her in an extraordinarily beautiful light. Under the autumn sun, as falling leaves descended from the sky, she appeared like an angel who had accidentally descended to earth. Her eyes held a chilly and aloof gaze, and her indifferent expression exuded an air of absence. When faced with such perfect photos, she questioned if the person in them was truly her. "Yes, it's you," she assured herself. "You are that perfect. And soon, everyone is going to know your name, not just at school, but throughout Manhattan society. Everyone who attends the gala will know you, and everyone who buys a print with your face on it will literally say, "Wow, there goes Pamela, a living, breathing muse. I will be a work of art that hangs on people's walls. I may not have had a formal debutante ball like some of the other girls at Marshall High," she thought, "but this will be my grand debut into society. One day, when I'm rich and successful and everybody knows my name, they will be able to trace the beginning of all my fortune and fame to this very moment, the moment I took over and grabbed life by the reins." She practically glowed just thinking about it. She was so excited, Pamela could barely sleep that night. The following day at school, she arrived an hour early so she could personally hand-deliver a copy of each of her photos to Adam. She watched as he looked at them, hoping to glean what he thought. He took them nonchalantly and made a record of Pamela handing them over. "Awesome, thanks," he said, though he appeared distracted, which made Pamela's brow furrow. He should be more impressed, she thought. Why isn't he saying how gorgeous these are? "And you emailed me the digital copies, right?" he asked. "I don't really need the printouts because we're just sending digitals to the auction site so they can be downloaded from there when people purchase them." "I know," Pamela insisted. "I just figured that you might want to, inspect them maybe?" "Oh," Adam nodded. "Cool, yeah, they look great." Pamela smiled. "There it is," she thought. "Thank you so much," she said, flattered. "Anyway, let me know if you need anything else. You know where to find me." As she left Adam's office, Pamela happened to cross paths with Callie Wilson. Pamela was about to turn the corner and head down the hall back towards her locker when she heard Callie knock on Adam's office door. Curiosity piqued, she glanced at Callie's back. Could it be that Callie also intended to participate in the school angel selection? No, Pamela assured herself, no, not a chance. Thinking of Callie's average appearance, Pamela coldly snorted. Even if she did participate, though, if her photos were displayed alongside mine, it would only bring humiliation upon her. There's no way her photos would be as good as mine. I'm 10 times hotter than her, and I had literally the most talented photographer take mine. Pamela was able to talk herself off a cliff of anxiety, and when she was sure of Callie's insignificance, Pamela confidently continued back down the hallway, away from Adam's office. Back in Adam's office, however, Callie handed Olivia's photos to Adam. "Excuse me, Mr. Adam, this is Olivia Johnson's photo." "Olivia Johnson's?" Adam asked curiously. "Why did you bring her photo? Is she all right? Was she unable to bring it herself?" Callie was momentarily unable to think up a reason, but then she quickly explained, "No, it's my brother's photo. He's the photographer who took her picture a few days ago. I didn't have the chance to give it to her yesterday, so I brought it with me today." "I see," Adam nodded, aware that Callie's brother, Danny, was a renowned photographer. He accepted the photo and made a record of receiving it. "All right, I've noted it down. Thanks, Cal." "You're welcome," Callie smiled. "Goodbye, Adam." She waved her hand, then briskly walked out of the office. Leaning against the corner of the corridor, she patted her chest and let out a long breath. She was incredibly nervous. She had never been so duplicitous before, nor had she ever gone against her brother's wishes like this. But she knew that once Olivia and others saw the photo, they would all love it. And so many people would purchase this piece of art from Danny featuring Olivia, that not only would it benefit people in need, but it would also bring the junior class bragging rights. Callie winded her way through the halls of Marshall High until she reached her classroom. As soon as she entered, she hurried over to Olivia's desk, wearing a mysterious smile. "Olivia, don't be too grateful to me." "Huh?" Olivia was taken aback. What does that mean? "Don't worry, you'll find out soon enough." Callie smiled and returned to her seat, leaving Olivia puzzled. Olivia's heart sped up. She didn't like when people spoke to her so cryptically. In her life, such people were conniving and untrustworthy. Was Callie Wilson a new foe? Was that a threat? Olivia wondered. Because it's not wise to threaten me, Callie. Before Olivia could focus all her attention on Callie Wilson, their teacher interrupted and demanded the class's attention. Lucky you, Olivia thought, eyeing Callie. Saved by the teacher. Later, though, I'm going to find out what you're up to. With that, Olivia turned and refocused on their teacher in front of the class, who began his lesson almost immediately. When the bell rang, Olivia rushed to finish taking notes. When she finally closed her notebooks and put all her textbooks in her bag, she looked up and around at the classroom, but she found that Callie had already left. "You want to walk to our next class together?" Wendy asked, hovering just over Olivia's shoulder. Olivia nodded. "Yeah." Millie caught up with them, and the three of them exited their classroom. Once they were in the hallway, Olivia couldn't help but notice multiple students checking their phones and exclaiming loudly to each other. A few even looked up at Olivia and then smiled and started whispering among themselves. What's going on? She wondered. She read the mind of a passing sophomore girl. The collection of participating photos in the charity event are up online. The girl was excitedly thinking as she approached another group of girls, enthusiastically preparing to show them her photographs. Olivia rolled her eyes. She remembered how seriously people took these photographs in her last life, and she didn't really want to be bothered by the whole spectacle now. But it seemed the release of the pictures online had created quite a stir, and students were zipping about the halls. The school felt like a busy beehive as everyone buzzed around and talking about, eagerly gathering together in little clusters to look at each other's phones and witness the spectacle. The atmosphere was vibrant and lively as students shared the link to the website and admired the displayed images. Pamela walked among the groups, her heart swelling with pride, hoping to overhear people talking about how gorgeous her photos were. The sheer number of people flocking to look at the photos reaffirmed her belief in her own beauty. Excited voices filled the air as the crowd marveled at the captivating images. "This photo is simply breathtaking," exclaimed one boy. Pamela was convinced he was talking about her. "I couldn't agree more. It's absolutely stunning," echoed another girl, a freshman. "It's like an angel descended from heaven," someone declared in awe. "I'm going to buy a copy of this. It literally looks like a painting, and it's made by that famous photographer, so I bet it'll be worth real money one day." "My parents collect art," another kid chimed in, "and they say for sure it'll be worth money." He smiled a smug, confident smile. "This girl is incredibly beautiful," someone else remarked, "and the composition is so gorgeous. I want to buy a copy too. For my mom for the holidays, she'll love this." "The junior class has quite a few beauties," another boy chimed in. "I want to purchase several as gifts. It'll be unique, not the normal thing you can find online, because they'll only print as many as we buy. They won't be sold commercially after that, so it's a bit like buying a limited edition print from a famous photographer. And look, this one photo is a work of art. See that? The way the light looks so enchanting?" Pamela smiled as the boy showed his girlfriend. "Wow, yeah," his girlfriend nodded. "That one really is as beautiful as a painting. My sister is into photography. Maybe I should get her a print for Christmas. She'll definitely love this photo, especially if you think it'll become like a collector's piece." Amidst the discussions, Pamela's vanity soared. She reveled in the praise and admiration, confidently waiting for someone to turn and notice her. She anticipated the shower of compliments and adoration that would surely come her way. "The girl in this is a junior, right? The junior class president?" a girl suddenly exclaimed, interrupting Pamela's reverie. "What's her name again? Olivia?" Pamela, who had been standing at the outskirts of the crowded hallways, striving to maintain her poised demeanor, was taken aback by the remark. "Whoa," Wendy said, finally loading the charity's website on her phone. "It really is you, Liv." She looked at Olivia enthusiastically. "You didn't tell us you were participating, but you didn't need to be shy. This is so beautiful." Behind her, others met the photo with a resounding chorus of admiration. "Wait, what?" Olivia asked. "How was her photo online?" "Don't worry, you don't have to be coy. I mean, honestly?" Wendy leaned in and whispered, "Everyone else should just step aside now because yours is the best by far. You're definitely going to represent the school as our campus model. I'm calling it now. This literally looks like fine art. I'm going to buy a few for the holidays to give out as gifts to my extended family. It'll be so unique." "I want 10 copies," echoed someone immediately. Olivia quickly took Wendy's phone from her to inspect the website for herself, convinced this was some sort of mistake. She definitely had not taken a photo for the charity auction. What was going on? Is Rachel behind this? Monica? Pamela? she wondered. No, it's impossible. If they were, nobody would be praising the photo. They'd be ridiculing me. Outside the crowd, Pamela's expression shifted from shock to upset. She could no longer maintain her ladylike demeanor and forcefully pushed her way through the crowd. Her phone wasn't loading, so she couldn't look at the website herself. Come on, she thought, looking down at her photo, cursing her Wi-Fi. She shoved her way through the crowd with more force now, until she saw a girl holding a phone with the website fully loaded on it. Pamela quickly grabbed the phone. Hey, the girl yelped. I just want to look, Pamela said as nicely as she could, though it still came off bitchy and bossy. She scrolled down to look through the photos and stopped dead in her tracks when she got to the one featuring Olivia. Olivia was squatting down, smiling, and playing with a bunch of photoshopped fairies. The sunlight caressed her, casting a warm glow on her face, which was framed by autumn leaves. Her smile radiated with warmth and brilliance. Next to her, Pamela's own photo appeared cold and devoid of humanity. It was evident at a glance who was superior and who was inferior. What the hell? Pamela thought. She bit her lower lip hard as anger flowed through her. God, Olivia is so shameless. She said she wasn't interested in even participating in this, and yet she produces such a remarkable photo. What a slimy liar. How could such a person exist in this world? Looking at the photo, it was clear that Olivia must have enlisted the services of a renowned photographer, perhaps one even more skilled than her own. Pamela scoured the webpage, scrolling down until finally she saw the name of the photographer responsible for such a gorgeous image. Is this a joke? She thought when she saw the name. Danny Wilson? That's my photographer. How the hell did he take such a better quality photo with Liv? I gave him more chances. He took so many images of me, and I thought we had 3 great ones for people to pick from. What is going on? This is so unfair. Did Olivia pay him extra or something? In that moment, Pamela redirected her anger towards Danny. Why didn't her own photos match Olivia's? How dare he call himself an award-winning photographer? He deserved to go to hell for making one of his images so much better than his others. Was he deliberately trying to tank Pamela's chances of winning the competition? Did I say something wrong during a photography session? She worried. This guy is utter trash. Pamela looked around and witnessed other students taking note of Olivia's photos. They were all claiming they wanted to buy a copy. She's going to win the competition and be class model, Pamela fretted. Before she could get too angry, though, she tried to calm herself down. No, don't worry. Human nature dictates that people follow trends. People are only saying they want it right now because they're observing an apparent high demand for her photo. Outside of this hallway, when there's no buzz swirling about, regular people are going to look at all the photos and buy mine more. Yes, that has to be the case. I have 3 images on there and she has only 1. Pamela reassured herself. I'm still going to win. Everything's going to be fine. At that moment, Olivia was taking Wendy's phone so she too could finally see the photo everyone was looking at. I told everyone I'm not interested in being in the spotlight, she muttered, shaking her head. It's rather dull. Besides, even if I were to display my photo, there's no guarantee I would win. It would only subject me to criticism and ridicule. It's terrifying to even think about. Olivia still vividly remembered standing alone in front of the bulletin board in her previous life, witnessing her own picture being defaced and enduring the laughter of others. She regretted ever embarking on such an unnecessary endeavor. That's why I didn't enter in the first place. After these words escaped her lips, Olivia saw the photo. This is a version of that picture the photographer took of me in the park, she thought. He photoshopped Polly out and put little fairies around. It made me look like I was glowing and in some type of enchanted photo. But still, Olivia recognized it as the photo from the other day. That asshole, she sneered. I never gave him permission to use this. She didn't even get his name or give him hers. She looked around. How had that guy even known she was enrolled at Marshall? How did he even know about this competition and know to submit her photo for it? What was going on? She tried to read the minds of passing students, including Pamela, to see if anyone held the clue to what was happening, but she found nothing. Hey, guys, I gotta go to study for a quiz in Adam's class, Millie said, interrupting Liv's thoughts. You want to look over the study guide I made too, Liv? Olivia considered the offer. "Oh, yes, please," she said finally. She would have to put this whole photo thing on the back burner, at least until she could find out more about the photographer. For now, she had to focus on turning around her grades so she could get into a good school. All her future plans depended on her being successful. "Come on," she told her friends. "Let's go somewhere we can concentrate." "Honestly, that one photo is genuinely stunning," a senior admitted to her friends in the hallways. Agreeing nods rippled through the group, affirming her statement. "I think the juniors are going to get the most photo downloads, if I'm being honest." Listening in, Pamela clenched her fists, her eyes blazing with anger and envy. How could Olivia be so conniving and deceitful? She said she didn't want to have anything to do with the charity gala. Pamela yearned to expose her true nature, to reveal her wickedness to everyone. She watched as Olivia and her friends disappeared down the hall. "I'm going to take you down, Olivia," Pamela thought, "and I'm going to expose you for the evil person you are." Further down the hall, Olivia, Wendy, and Millie approached Adam's classroom to get there early and study. Inside, Adam flipped through some of his old class lessons so he could make adjustments for this week's class. When he saw the girls enter, Adam inquired about Olivia's leg, expressing concern for her still healing ankle. "It's getting better every day," Olivia assured him. "That's good to hear," he nodded. "Hey, while you're here, I saw that you and Francis, the new junior transfer student, seem to have bonded, and I was wondering if you two might want to study together with a tutor. I know you didn't perform so well on the standardized tests recently and was thinking, if you wanted, I can help you guys get someone to help you bring your scores up." "Oh," Olivia said, her cheeks glowing red. "Thank you for the offer, but Millie's actually been helping me." "Yep," Millie said proudly. "We actually came in here to study for our quiz." "Oh, that's great then," Adam said. He smiled, proud of Olivia for trying to improve. "Then I'll talk to Francis separately, I guess, about getting him a tutor." "Adam, I meant to ask you," Wendy piped in. "Are we doing a Thanksgiving event this year?" Olivia shot Wendy a perplexed look, so Wendy explained. "Marshall High usually does something special each year around Thanksgiving, since most people are kind of checked out anyways on the days going into the holiday." "Oh, cool," Olivia muttered. Her last school didn't do anything like that. "Yep," Adam affirmed. "The Wednesday before Thanksgiving will be a half day, and we'll be inviting everyone's parents to campus. Each grad will be organizing a themed activity for their parents. In fact," he looked at Olivia, "Liv, I was going to bring this up with you tomorrow, but I might as well tell you now in case you want a head start on it. As class president, can you organize a class meeting to discuss with your classmates what your themed event will be this year?" After conveying these instructions, Adam informed Olivia that he would be attending a seminar at a key university in Europe and would be away next week. "A substitute teacher will be here, but is it cool if I entrust you with this task during my absence?" Olivia nodded. Of course. She excitedly thought about all the different themed events her class could pull off. Satisfied with their conversation, Adam returned to his desk to let the girls study for their upcoming quiz. Sometime later, the bell rang, signaling the start of the next period. Olivia was so concentrated on Millie's study guide she hardly noticed. It was only once the second bell rang that she even looked up to find all eyes fixed upon her. Perplexed, she asked, "Is there something on my face?" The students shook their heads, and then one of them replied, "No, it's just that we saw your photo just now and it's incredible. I think our class is going to win the competition." "Yeah, I ordered 3 copies," chimed in another student. Pamela's sinister expression grew more pronounced as she curled her lips and addressed Olivia with disdain. "Didn't you say you were disinterested in the competition? I thought you were above it all." Olivia's brow furrowed. "I wasn't interested. I'm still not. I didn't submit any photos. I don't know how it ended up there." Pamela coldly snorted, not believing a word of what Olivia was claiming. "Oh, so you didn't submit it. Did someone secretly capture it then and not tell you? You really expect us to believe that? What are you even trying to pull here? You want everyone to think you're like this modest girl who's too cool to participate in a charity event, and then you just take a picture and claim you weren't aware of it? That's so lame." Olivia shook her head. She could see how it looked and it bothered her. People would probably agree with Pamela and think poorly of Olivia. Maybe it really was Monica who was behind this, she thought. Maybe she heard me say I had no interest in a competition, and then submitted me so I looked like an idiot who was trying really hard to win after all. I'll have to get her back, Olivia vowed. While Olivia was busy fretting about Monica's possible involvement, Callie Wilson sat a few rows back, nervously squirming in her seat upon hearing Pamela's words. No, I really didn't submit it. Olivia frowned, feeling unjustly accused. She had made it clear that she wasn't interested, so why would she engage in such a superfluous act? Displeased with Olivia's response, Pamela rolled her eyes and muttered, I think you're a liar. You didn't want to tell anyone you were taking a picture because you didn't want people to think you care about how you look if it didn't come out well. But then, when it turned out nice, you were hoping nobody would remember that you said you didn't have time for this competition. At his desk, Francis watched Olivia. He could hear the conversation happening between her and Pamela, and he decided to try to put an end to the dispute. Observing Olivia's expression, he deduced that she was innocent and unaware of the photo's origins. Curiosity piqued, though, he inquired, Olivia, who is your photographer, by the way? I have a friend who needs a wedding photographer, and I'd love to pass the name along. Olivia frowned as she faced Francis. I genuinely have no idea. I'm not sure. Perplexed, Francis responded, It's online, though. It should have the name of the artist in the credits below your picture, right? He began to take out his phone. I didn't submit it, Olivia firmly declared, shaking her head. Pamela scoffed audibly, relishing the opportunity to see just how long Olivia would continue her charade. God, to think I actually trusted you. This really makes me question your character, Liv, Pamela said, feigning hurt. Seeing discord between his students, but not aware of what they were discussing, Adam stood up in front of the classroom and swiftly shifted the topic back to the class agenda. All right, everyone, he said before anyone could hop back on their phones to look at the charity's website, which seemed to be all that his students wanted to do since the site had gone live earlier. Close your books and put everything away from your desk. It's time for the quiz. Everybody groaned as they followed his instructions, leaving the subject of the charity photos behind. When class finally ended, Wendy and Millie approached Olivia. Liv, if it wasn't you, then who submitted that photo of you? Wendy was genuinely curious. How did someone else get your picture? I genuinely don't know, Olivia replied, equally perplexed. Great, she thought. Even my own friends don't believe me now. This must be exactly what Monica wanted. She's not looking at the camera, Francis interjected, so I believe her. Pamela was livid that Francis was coming to Olivia's defense. What? What does not looking at the camera prove? Pamela scoffed. Usually when taking pictures, people will look at the camera. Even if you deliberately don't look at the camera with your eyes, you will unconsciously point at least part of your body towards the camera because of something called camera consciousness, to show that you're aware of how you're being seen. People cheat towards the camera. It's part of human instinct. Francis nodded. Recently, I've been studying micro-expressions and subconscious movements because it helps me know when targets are significant in my VR games. Whoa, so if you didn't know you were being photographed, Millie chimed in, what if it was a stalker or something? Someone who's been following you, who knew you went to Marshall High? Oh my God, would you all shut up? Olivia's just an expert liar. Pamela seethed, closing her books with disdain over by her desk. Why don't you just come clean and admit to everyone that you paid to have your picture taken? Enough. Let's not argue further. Millie tried to mediate. Pamela, if you really don't believe her, why don't you just ask Adam if you want confirmation? He's the one that people had to submit their photos to if they wanted to participate in the charity event. Pamela rolled her eyes at the suggestion, convinced that Adam would lie to protect Olivia due to some illicit arrangement with the Johnson family. She despised the corrupt, unspoken rules that permeated upper-class Manhattan society, feeling indignant at the injustice she believed she faced. Yeah, ask the teacher, echoed Wendy, and then some other students attempting to convince Pamela. Pamela's remarks threatened Olivia's reputation. Anger surged within Olivia, and she decided to go to Adam directly. She turned and marched toward his desk as everyone watched. "My photo was put online without my knowledge," she told him. Adam was so concentrated on organizing everyone's finished quizzes that he was taken aback and didn't know what Olivia was talking about at first. "Sorry, what?" Adam asked, getting his bearings. "This photo." She pulled up the charity website and showed Adam her picture. "This isn't meant for the competition. I have the right to protect my image," she calmly asserted. Pamela's eyes suddenly flashed with a scheming look. If Olivia takes her photo out of the competition, Pamela thought, mine will be the best one in it. Thinking of this, joy radiated outwards from Pamela's core. She didn't care if there was some stalker looking to harm Olivia who was out taking pictures of her. She only cared about her own interests. "And I want to know who took this," Olivia was telling Adam, "and who submitted it." "Actually," a small, meek voice interjected from the back of the classroom. Everyone turned to find Callie sitting at her desk, nervously looking down. She could not continue listening, and she immediately stood up to look at Olivia. "Actually," she lost her resolve to tell the truth, however, and quickly said instead, "My brother submitted the photo. He's a photographer who saw Olivia in the park. When I saw the photo after he printed it out, and I mentioned in passing that Olivia went to Marshall High, he must have known about the competition because he was taking photos of other students, and so he must have submitted Olivia's." Before Adam could interject and tell Olivia that Callie wasn't being fully forthcoming, Olivia walked back towards Pamela's desk. "See?" Olivia said, leaning into Pamela and talking in a hushed voice only Pamela could hear. "I'm telling the truth. And yet you doubted my character. Probably because you're such a big liar yourself, and you think everyone is willing to stoop as low as you to get what you want." "What? No!" Pamela panicked and quickly quipped. "I am—" "You shut up." Olivia frowned and looked at her with disdain. "Don't talk to me, do you understand? I find you disgusting." Pamela was stunned. How could Olivia say this in front of everyone in the class, even if not everyone could hear? I could use this to my advantage, Pamela thought quickly. People will see that Olivia approached me menacingly, and if I play this right, I can get sympathy points. I'll say she was bullying me, and I was the victim. Pamela's figure swayed, and she looked like she was about to faint. Her brows were tightly knitted, and her eyes filled with tears. She looked like she had suffered a huge grievance that she was still in the midst of enduring. Those who were still in the class did not expect this turn of events. Seeing the furious Olivia and looking at the extremely aggrieved Pamela, everyone watched with concern, wondering what Olivia had just said to her. "Wait!" Callie said, louder this time. She broke out in a cold sweat as she took a few steps towards Olivia and Pamela. She quickly said, "Before you, I should actually—" She had trouble getting the words out. She had glimpsed the anger in Olivia's eyes and was afraid to incur her wrath. At that moment, Adam's phone rang. "Shoot," he muttered, realizing this was an important personal call about his upcoming trip that he couldn't miss. He looked up at his students. Seeing that the situation in his classroom was about to be resolved now that Callie had stepped forward, though, Adam nodded and headed for the door. "Guys, I trust you can handle this among yourselves. If you'll excuse me, I've got to take this call." As soon as Adam left the classroom, Callie shrank backwards a little. She felt like she was less protected now that the only authority figure in the room was gone. What should I do? I've really got myself in a predicament now, haven't I? She was so afraid she began to tremble. But if she didn't speak up now, Adam would. I only wanted to submit my brother's picture of Olivia because I thought it would be so pretty, she thought. I thought Liv would see it and like it, but I didn't expect this big of a reaction. Or for Pamela to care and cause a scene over it either. "Well?" Olivia said impatiently. "Speak." "Yeah, seriously, what's going on with you?" Wendy crossed her arms over her chest and raised her chin, confused as to why Callie, who was normally so quiet it was easy to overlook her, was suddenly chiming in. Callie lowered her head and pursed her lips. What I did was wrong. Well, what was it? Wendy raised her eyebrows and asked. I shouldn't have handed Olivia's photo over privately. Callie lowered her head more and more. I really didn't know that she would be so angry. I'm sorry. Wait, it was you? Olivia asked, confused. But why? My brother is a photographer. Wait. Pamela cut Callie off. The world-renowned fine art photographer Danny Wilson is your brother? How had she never put that together before? Probably because Callie was so quiet. It was easy to overlook someone like her. She wasn't even that rich or particularly pretty. And yet her brother was the most well-known prodigy photographer who had broken onto the art world with his first exhibition last year. Yes. Callie nodded hesitantly. I guess I just don't go around saying it. I mean, why would I? That'd be so braggy, I guess. If he were my brother, I would tell everyone, Pamela thought. Everyone would be clamoring to be my friend, and I'd ask him to get me into all the cool parties and events. I bet he even gets invited to the Met Ball. Anyways, Olivia, I'm really so sorry. Callie went on effusively. I saw the photo and I thought it was so pretty. I worried you'd be too modest to submit it yourself if you saw it, but I knew it would help out the charity because people will totally want to buy prints of it. And I also figured our class could win the photo competition and everyone would be happy. I don't know, I thought it would be a win-win. But I see now maybe I was just being an idiot. Maybe it's just that it was my brother's photo and I was so proud of him because he made such a gorgeous image. I didn't think of your feelings, she sighed. Please forgive me. Seeing Callie's sincere apology now, Olivia began to take pity on her. She could see that Callie felt truly remorseful for what she had done. But Olivia also felt slightly relieved. If Callie did this for an innocent reason, she thought, then that means I don't have to worry about someone scheming against me or trying to humiliate me in the charity event. Monica wasn't behind this. Neither was Pamela. Olivia relaxed a bit. Really, she was more mad about how Pamela was trying to make her look bad. Do you promise not to do something like this ever again? I totally promise, Callie gushed. I'm so sorry. I totally learned my lesson. I wasn't thinking when I did it, and honestly, I only meant well, but it'll never happen again. Callie was a sweet girl who was short in stature and mouse-like in her mannerisms. Olivia could tell from reading her thoughts that Callie was sincere and meant what she said. She felt terrible about the whole thing. All right, Olivia said finally. I forgive you. Really? Callie raised her head. You forgive me just like that? Olivia shrugged. Yep, just like that. Pamela snorted. Why was Olivia willing to let this go so easily? She never let the things Pamela did go so quickly. Callie was a little puzzled too, but mostly relieved, so she didn't press Olivia any further. After settling this matter, Callie finally felt like she could reveal a tiny hint of a smile again. She felt more tense in the last few minutes than did while taking standardized tests. She exhaled deeply as she watched Olivia turn back to Pamela. That's who she's really mad at. Callie seemed to understand now. Olivia's not as upset with me for doing what I did. She's more angry with Pamela for how she reacted afterwards. See? Olivia told Pamela as the other students looked on, intrigued. I told you I didn't post that picture myself. So I think you owe me an apology for calling me, what was it? An expert liar, something like that? Pamela scowled but said nothing. Come on now. Olivia cocked an eyebrow. Apologize to me immediately for being so wrong and so foolish in front of everyone. Hearing Olivia's words, everyone who was still in the classroom looked at Pamela. Reading their thoughts, Olivia could see most of them agreed that Pamela should apologize to Olivia. Olivia smirked. Yes, she thought. I've successfully brought everyone back to my side again. It was almost like a fun exercise, seeing how often she could hurt Pamela in this little ongoing game of chess they were playing. She was beginning to really cherish watching Pamela fail over and over and over like this. Pamela shot Olivia a pissed-off look, her eyes glowing with anger. But when she thought about how the campus model prize would be hers now that Olivia was out of the competition, Pamela couldn't help but feel slightly better. The more she thought about it, in fact, the more her mood improved, until finally she said lightly, "I'm sorry." Seeing Pamela's frivolous apology, Olivia scrutinized her nemesis. "Pamela, you don't even sound like you yourself believe that." "Oh, you don't say?" Pamela held back the urge to roll her eyes and put on an innocent face. "Didn't I just apologize, though? It's not my fault if you don't want to accept it. What else do you want? Is there a need to be so aggressive?" "I'm the aggressive one?" Olivia laughed. "You were the one who was resorting to name-calling." "For which I already apologized, right?" Pamela felt Olivia was just being unreasonable now. Does she want me to get down on my knees and grovel or beg for her forgiveness? Pamela thought. What the hell was this? "You call that an apology?" Wendy added. She also felt that Pamela's apology was too perfunctory. "Stay out of this, you." Pamela raised her chin. Did a loser like Wendy really dare to criticize her? Every time Wendy walked up to her, Pamela felt like she could smell a hint of poverty on her. Since her family wasn't as well off as others at the school, and she was nerdy and her clothes weren't as ostentatious. "Pamela, can't you just apologize properly? Just make it heartfelt so we can all go on with our days." Millie frowned. Pamela bit her lower lip and immediately put on an aggrieved look. "I have already apologized. What else do you want?" "What do I want?" Olivia smiled. "Apologize again until I am satisfied." She smirked. "What? Why are you bullying me like this?" Pamela widened her eyes and her eyes turned red. "Are we bullying you?" Wendy challenged. They hadn't done anything except point out how fake her sorry was. "Hey, Pamela, just say sorry properly and everything will be fine." Frances stepped in and said. Pamela's blood boiled. No, she thought. Not Frances again. "That's right, Pamela. Apologize properly. It was you who was in the wrong the first place." Everyone nodded in agreement. Pamela looked around at her classmates all nodding in agreement, and she felt her pulse racing. Why is this happening? She thought, anxious. She shook her head. Everyone was standing up for Olivia. Pamela gritted her teeth in jealousy. At this time, the bell for class rang, and the students who were originally surrounding them returned to their seats in twos and threes. Pamela saw that everyone had dispersed and heaved a sigh of relief. She sat on the seat with a relaxed expression. Now that it was already class, she did not believe that Olivia would still dare to argue with her. "I won't apologize a second time," Pamela thought, smiling defiantly now. "So take that," she thought. "What are you going to do about it, loser? You want to try to act tough in front of everyone? Well, I'm not going to let you." After listening to Pamela's thoughts, Olivia curled the corner of her mouth. The bell rang, signaling the start of the 5-minute period that allowed everyone to get to their next class. "Hey, Liv, come on. We got to get to class." Wendy pulled Olivia's arm. "Hold on." Olivia coldly snorted and shook off Wendy's hand as she marched towards Pamela. "Liv?" Frances saw Olivia's stern face, her eyes zeroing in on Pamela, and he immediately got up and moved towards her. The class president could get in trouble if she did anything severe right now, so he rushed to stop her. "Don't be impulsive," he thought. Seeing Pamela's expression turn from defiance to shock, Olivia grabbed Pamela's shoulder and forcefully shoved her backwards onto her desk. She couldn't help it. She hadn't even used her powers. She was so angry she just reflexively rushed Pamela's body and pushed her as hard as she could. "Oh!" Pamela screamed. Olivia realized what she was doing only after she had done it, but it was too late. Pamela toppled over her own desk and landed on the ground behind it with a loud thud. "Olivia!" Millie called out, stunned. Although Pamela's actions were infuriating, and she certainly deserved to be called out for insisting Olivia was a liar, nobody in the vicinity could believe that Olivia had actually pushed her. The other students stood around in shock. Olivia didn't seem fazed. Apologize to me. Do you understand? Olivia's eyes were filled with killing intent as she stepped towards Pamela. Apologize to me right now and mean it. I am sorry, Pamela stammered. Facing Olivia's glare, Pamela began to tremble with fear and could only mutter a few quiet words. I am sorry. Louder, I can't hear it. Olivia stepped an inch closer and used her powers to clench Pamela's throat. Her gaze was fierce, and Pamela's eyes widened as her throat tightened. What is happening? Pamela thought. I feel like I'm choking, but she's not touching me. Is this a panic attack? Am I just panicking? Everyone else around Pamela could see her eyes widening and looked at one another as she struggled for air, grasping at her own throat like she was choking, unsure what they were witnessing. They wondered if she was just faking this for pity, the way she was known to pretend to faint or play the victim for sympathy. Olivia could hear the other students' thoughts and relished the fact that they doubted Pamela. Nobody believes you're actually hurting, she thought, using her powers to close Pamela's throat even more. I said apologize louder so everyone can hear you, she growled. Feeling the pressure growing in her throat, Pamela suddenly screamed out in fear, I'm sorry. There we go. Olivia let go of her grip on Pamela's neck. Pamela kneeled forward and gasped for air. Liv then reached out her hand to grab Pamela's chin and raise it up so they were looking at each other dead in the eye. She smiled devilishly. See? If you just admit when you're wrong, we won't have a problem like that in the future. Without another word, Olivia turned around and returned to her desk under everyone's gaze. There were only a few people still in the classroom, but those who were there seemed mostly to feel like Olivia had merely asked Pamela for an apology and shoved her impulsively, after which Pamela pretended to choke before finally saying sorry. Seeing Olivia's actions and expression up close like this, Francis was personally dumbfounded. He was especially mesmerized by that last devilish smile of hers. Until now, he had once thought that Olivia was a bit of a goody two-shoes, since she was class president and she hung out with smart, nerdy-ish girls like Millie and Wendy. He had merely assumed that she would be able to bring companions to his lonely life as a student after helping him with his VR game. But now he wondered if Olivia also had a dark side, something more sinister. He and everyone else who was still present in the room seemed to agree that Pamela deserved to be shoved after wrongly taunting Olivia so much in front of the entire class. But there was something about the way Olivia had just shoved and then cornered Pamela that seemed ominous, disquieting, and Francis was intrigued. That devious smile of hers was like a white feather lightly brushing against his heart. He couldn't stop thinking about it, even as he exited the classroom. Wendy and Millie, meanwhile, stood where they were, dumbfounded. This was the first time Olivia's friends had seen such behavior from her. Jeremy looked at Olivia with a burning gaze. This girl is entirely too dangerous, he thought. Her ruthlessness, her arrogance, her decisiveness, her dominance. She's like the most deadly poison, emitting an alluring fragrance that attracts you. But if you get too close, you could be eternally doomed. Jeremy could tell that there was something different about Olivia, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly what it was. How was she both so sweet and so scary? How was she so confident whenever she stood up to people like Pamela? Like she was sure she was in the right. Stop thinking about her, Jeremy told himself. You only have 3 years here before you return home. Don't spend it getting involved with her. She's dangerous. There's something about her. Whatever, Jeremy sighed, trying to focus his attention on anything other than Olivia. He would try to forget everything he'd even seen here just now. Olivia turned her head to look at Jeremy. Why was he sighing and muttering something under his breath all of a sudden? Jeremy looked at Olivia with a serious face. You... After a pause, Jeremy sighed and whispered in a desperate tone. It's not worth it. It's poisonous. After muttering more under his breath, Jeremy turned his head again and did not look at Olivia as he exited the classroom. Olivia was confused when she heard this. What a strange guy, she thought. At this moment, Adam walked back into the classroom slowly. "I'm sorry I had to take that call. It was about my flight." When he looked around the room, he seemed to notice a tension in the room. The remainder of the students seemed on edge, and Pamela was brushing herself off by her desk. He looked at Millie and asked curiously, "Millie, Wendy, what are you two standing here for? Go to your next class, the bell already rang." Oh, yeah." After being reminded by their English teacher, the two started collecting their bags and books from their desks. Pamela, who was still shaking by her seat, still had a shocked expression on her face. Her face was slightly pale due to fear. She had just clearly felt Olivia's killing intent, and her hand trembled as it touched her neck. Pamela recalled the gradually increasing feeling of suffocating just now, and looked at Olivia, wondering what had happened. She couldn't wrap her head around it. The way Olivia looked at me a few minutes ago felt like if I hadn't apologized, she would have actually killed me. Pamela's entire body was jittery, and she stared blankly at the table. She could not say it was because of fear or anger that her throat had closed up, but instinctively, she felt like somehow, though she didn't know how, Olivia had something to do with it. After this experience, Pamela glanced up at Olivia as she left the room. "You're insane," she thought, firmly believing it. "I know it's absolutely true. Olivia Johnson, you're a madwoman, and I'm going to expose you." At lunchtime, the entire school seemed to be talking, not about Olivia shoving Pamela, but about the photos of the One World Climate Initiative website. "There's one less picture on the website than there was earlier, and honestly, it was the best one in my opinion," a girl sitting at the sophomore lunch tables told her friends. There were so many people who posed for photos, but everyone seemed to agree that one really was the best. Those who had never seen Olivia's photo before it was taken down had heard about it from everyone else. As Olivia approached her lunch table, she felt that there were people staring and pointing at her. She felt self-conscious. "Don't worry," Millie assured her. "This isn't about your fight with Pamela. Only a few of us were in there for that. This is about you asking Adam to take your fine art photo down." "Yeah," Wendy affirmed. "People really liked it. Especially the other juniors, because they figured we were going to win the competition if you kept it up. And rumor has it, whichever grade wins the campus model competition gets a pizza party and a half day off school. Although maybe that's just a rumor." Before Olivia could even respond, she felt someone tapping her shoulder. She turned, prepared to find Pamela behind her. Today had been a lot, and she was slightly tired after using her powers on Pamela earlier, even if it hadn't been for very long. Olivia was, admittedly, pleasantly surprised to find Chris behind her. "Why did you take your photo down off that charity website?" Chris asked her before saying hello. "I'm told it was gorgeous, and I didn't even get a chance to see it." "Oh, so I'm supposed to do everything on your timeline?" Olivia barbed. "I'm just teasing." Chris smiled. "Although the pictures are for charity, so I don't see what the big deal is about keeping one up. I just didn't want to." Chris looked beyond Olivia and noticed two boys from her grade watching her from the cafeteria line. The first was Francis, the junior class transfer student. The other was Olivia's deskmate Jeremy, who seemed to watch her with a mix of admiration and revulsion or shame. "Interesting," Chris thought, narrowing his eyes. "Maybe my little fiancé has a few admirers. Too bad I don't like competition." Chris smiled slightly, thinking of an idea. After lunch, everyone returned to their classrooms for fourth period, and one of Olivia's classmates, Giovanni Petrie, strode over to her desk as soon as she sat down. "What do you want?" Olivia asked when she saw the weird grin on Giovanni's face. Giovanni scrolled on his phone and said, "Apparently, you're very popular now." "Huh? Why?" Olivia tilted her head and did not understand. "See for yourself." Giovanni placed his cell phone in front of Olivia. "The school's talking about your photo. I guess people screenshotted it earlier and are asking for it to go back up on the One World Climate Initiative's auction website." "Jesus, does no one have anything better to do?" Olivia shook her head speechlessly. How were people still talking about this? This is so boring, she thought. The kids who go to this school have nothing going on in their lives because they're given everything they ask for. So they apparently make gossip out of absolutely nothing. Don't we have homework and test scores and college applications and extracurricular activities to worry about enough already? Are we really going to make a huge deal about a charity photo? Then again, as soon as she saw this, Olivia realized of course people would make a big deal about something as small as a charity photo. Half the girls in this school were being groomed to be future socialites who sat on the board of the country's most prestigious charities. This is literally all they cared about. Petty little dramas and slates were all the people at Marshall cared about. I should have never let that guy keep my photo, Olivia thought, rolling her eyes. Rich people made big deals of everything. Hey, this is totally a good thing, Giovanni said when he noticed Olivia start to scowl. He put his arm on Olivia's shoulder and said, Olivia, think about it. You are our class president, so you, representing our grade at a charity function, would just make sense. Olivia had to admit that maybe Gio was right. Maybe it would be beneficial for her and her mom if she were more well-known in Manhattan society. But attending a charity gala seemed so stuffy and formal, and Olivia was concerned with getting back on track with her ultimate goal. She had to seek revenge against Rachel and Monica, and Melanie Cooper and Pamela. And while this silly little charity thing would piss Pamela off, it was a distraction from the real task at hand. Seeing that Olivia did not take his words seriously, Giovanni leaned in closer to Olivia. Jeremy, who was standing behind Olivia, felt himself grow jealous. Why is he getting so close to her? Jeremy thought. Before he could stop himself, he stepped forward and said, Make way! Then he squeezed between Gio and Olivia and returned to his seat. Olivia smiled, happy to have Jeremy push Giovanni back. I'm done talking about this, she told Giovanni. I have much bigger plans to focus on, she thought, smiling. She felt a tingling excitement as she thought about Rachel. I still need to pay Rachel back for everything she's done for me. Giovanni Petrie looked around and saw that there was so much more room around him, so he was puzzled as to why Jeremy had squeezed himself between Olivia and himself. Giovanni, have you started playing The Fall of the Sun yet? Francis interjected. Privately, he also didn't like Giovanni being too close to Olivia. He reached out and put his arm around Giovanni's shoulder and said, It finally came out for the general public, and I thought you said you were going to buy it. Have you yet? Huh? Yeah, Giovanni replied, confused as to why Francis was interrupting his conversation with Olivia to ask him about VR games. Come, let's talk over there. Francis gestured for Giovanni to follow him back to his desk. Gio, seeing Olivia was already looking at her notebook, finally shrugged and agreed to follow Francis away from her. Olivia smiled. She was surrounded by so many peers that she didn't read too deeply into Francis or Jeremy's thoughts, but she could see that both guys had helped deflect Giovanni and stop him from talking to her any longer. I like this, she thought with a smile. They're like my two personal guards who thwart others before they can get too close. I could get used to this. Yes, Olivia nodded, thinking more deeply. She was slowly building the foundations for her own little army. She had found loyal allies in Wendy and Millie, and had forged a formidable alliance with Chris Jones. And she had begun to build the framework for her father and mother to bridge their differences and come back together one day. And now she was establishing new alliances with Francis and even quiet Jeremy, which was especially unexpected. This is my good karma, she thought proudly. This is my reward for coming back to turn my life around this time. Soon, I will be unstoppable. Unbeknownst to Olivia, the following day at school, a few students who had already pre-ordered Olivia's high art photograph from the charity auction website got together to talk to the principal. They tried to appeal to him by requesting the photo to be posted again, so they could at least receive the prints they had pre-ordered. Olivia did not expect this at all, so she went about her day normally. But Callie looked on nervously when she saw the group of students talking to the principal. This is all my fault, she thought, and I don't want Olivia to be mad at me. She wished she could talk to her teacher, Adam, to convince him not to re-upload Olivia's photo and risk angering her again. But Adam was already gone in Europe. Damn it, Callie thought. What have I started? In Rome, Italy, Adam was seated in a busy coffee shop in the Trastevere neighborhood, trying to fend off jet lag with a double espresso. He looked around, taking in the scenery. I should buy some art, he thought, to hang in class. Or maybe I could buy some Italian books to put in the little library shelf behind my desk. He smiled, glancing around, watching the elegant Italians gesticulate wildly as they spoke to one another, and enjoyed the slower pace of life here. When he turned around, on the narrow stone street, Adam noticed a tall, statuesque woman in a vibrant red dress brush past him. Adam sat stunned. After a few seconds, he muttered, "Vera?" The woman didn't turn. She instead fluttered down the street, her dress flowing behind her breezily. Adam stumbled over himself as he stood to flag down his waiter. "Excuse me," he called out. "Pardon." Finally, the waiter noticed Adam and hurried over. "See? Can I pay my check?" He tried to pantomime what he was talking about. "My bill, I need to go." He kept an eye on the woman, but she was disappearing into the crowd quickly, and he was worried if he didn't leave soon, he would lose her entirely. "See, allow me to get it," the waiter said. "You can't go faster?" Adam thought, watching the waiter amble back inside. Adam tapped his foot impatiently, eyes glued to the red dress making its way through the crowd. Come on, come on!" "Here you are, sir," the waiter said with a magnanimous grin. "Thanks," Adam said before tossing a few dozen euros on the table and standing up. "You gave too much, sir," the waiter called out after him. Keep the change," Adam muttered, and quickly he set out from the cafe. He hustled down the steps before him, then squeezed his way through the crowd, trying in vain to catch the woman he thought could be Vera. Maybe it wasn't her, he thought. Maybe it was just a mirage. He saw the red dress round a corner and his heart sank. She was out of view now. He sprinted to catch up, rounding the corner himself while apologizing to a group of women he nearly bulldozed over. In that moment, an old memory flashed in Adam's mind, and he was transported back years. Under the shade of verdant trees, on the side of a bucolic road, a younger Adam was wearing glasses while reading a book. Beside him was a girl in a one-piece dress, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Hey, Adam, what are you going to do after graduation?" The girl looked at the sky through the gaps between the leaves in a daze. "Me? Be a teacher." Adam flipped to the next page in his book. "How boring," the girl replied teasingly before coyly licking her lips. "Oh yeah? Fine. What about you?" Adam looked away from the book and looked at the girl. "What are you going to do after college?" The girl sat up straight and looked at him with a playful smile. "Me? I want to be a teacher's wife." The girl's eyes glistened as she looked at him, and he felt like they were piercing directly into his heart. Now, Adam's heart raced as he remembered that moment all those years ago, but he shook the memory away so he could focus on the present. He wasn't sure which direction the woman in the red dress had gone. As soon as he rounded the corner, he was confronted with several tiny alleyways of cobblestone streets, bustling with tourists and locals alike. "Vera!" Adam called out, spinning around to look down each alleyway. He sighed when he could no longer see a red dress in the crowded street. At that exact moment, his phone rang. Adam picked up the phone. "Hello? Is this Adam? Adam Reed?" a voice asked. "Yes," Adam said. There was no caller ID for this call. "We're waiting for you. Hurry up and get to the meeting." Adam realized that the voice on the other end of the line was Dean Hugh from Marshall High's research team. "Did you forget what time we were meeting?" Shoot, Adam thought. He had lost track of time. No, not at all. Sorry, I'll, be right there." Adam gave up looking through the crowd for Vera. "Sorry, I just got lost, I think." After hanging up the phone, Adam rubbed his swollen temples. He must have been imagining things. How could Vera be in Italy? While he was here too? It was too much of a coincidence. "Excuse me." Adam flagged down a woman who was walking down the street with her children. Do you know where the Piazza Hotel is? Near the fountain? I'm supposed to meet someone there. Yes, the woman nodded, pointing Adam down a narrow alley towards his desired destination. Thank you, Adam said before he took off running. Thank you so much. It was he who had suggested Dean Hugh meet up while they were both in Europe, because Adam had been interested in meeting the dean's friends who were professors at the University of Rome. Now I look like an idiot showing up late, he thought, cursing at himself as he sprinted towards the hotel. Moments after Adam disappeared into the crowd on his way to his meeting, a woman in a red dress came out of a small shop just feet from where Adam had been standing just seconds earlier. She was holding a glass of freshly bought juice and an Italian scarf. She looked around, relishing the warm Italian breeze before fishing her cell phone from her sophisticated striped red and white clutch. She dialed a number, and after a few rings, someone picked up. Hello? A man said on the other end. Sven, hi, Vera cooed. Just checking in to see how Chris has been these past few days. Pretty good. Sven's voice sounded a little tired and strained. Vera, when are you coming back? I booked a plane ticket for 3 days from now. So in 3 days, can you please arrange for someone to pick me up at Tetrabora Airport at 12 in the afternoon? And in the meantime, keep an eye on Chris. If he loses a strand of hair, I will peel off a layer of your skin. Do you understand me? Sven shivered. Vera was so severe when it came to the lengths she would go to protect her young cousin. Understood, ma'am, Sven said quietly. Wonderful. Keep me updated on anything I might need to know. Otherwise, I'll see you in 3... Wait a minute, Sven quickly interjected. His voice transformed from casual and tired to low and serious. Be careful. Of course, I always am, Vera answered. Vera hung up the phone and looked up at the clear sky. She had not expected to stay in Europe for so long. For a second, she inadvertently began to think about a time from her youth, when she and a former flame used to spend their afternoons in the summer, reading under the shade of trees. She shook her head and laughed self-deprecatingly. It had been so long. What was the point of thinking of such memories now? Excuse me, someone said behind her, and Vera turned to find an Italian youth looking at her. He was somewhere between 19 and 22, and his eyes were filled with astonishment. He walked straight to her and said in broken English, Hello, can I ask your name? I have been captured by you. Vera laughed heartily and stretched out her hand to lift the young man's chin so she could examine him more closely. She replied in fluent Italian, I am not interested in boys. After saying this, she turned around and glided away, down the street away from the young man. As he watched the enchanting red figure float further and further away from him, the young man was gawked, transfixed, unable to look away.